Dan Miller is someone who impacted people so that they would impact people. Hey friends, DJ Eshelman here. It's going to be a rough one, so just let you know. My friend Dan Miller passed away yesterday. For those of you who don't know, I'll have a link at the end of this video to a video that I did previously before his diagnosis. It was a quick thing. Literally in mid-December, he started feeling funny, and just a little over a month later, he has passed away. So I wanted to record this video and try and get through it and just say a little bit about what Dan meant to me. So in 2011, it was actually a Dave Ramsey thing that I had heard about Dan Miller. It turns out they're really good friends, and yeah, there's a lot of people in this community of Franklin where I live now that are in that inner circle, I guess you could say, with Dan. But anyway, bought this book, 48 Days to the Work You Love. At the time, I just lost a job that I thought was going to be a much bigger deal, and was questioning some things about my life. And sorry, this is hard because as I'm recording this, I'm going through the same thing again. And not with a loss of job, but a failed entrepreneurial venture that I need to adapt and overcome. But anyway, back in 2011, I found this book, and it wasn't even all 48 days that I got through before something radically changed in my life. And I started a independent consulting practice, and that has led to a bunch of things in my life. Basically, in less than 4 years, I more than tripled my income, and it actually kept going from there at one point, peaking at a point where it was more than, I believe, 5 times what I had been making on my own, just working a job. I was happier. I was, way more, I guess, connected with myself, and was way more in touch with my own talents and abilities and how those work together. And it's funny, I actually look back on some notes from those 48 days, and looking back at the things I had written on this, 13 years ago, it was really impressive to me to see that, that was really pivotal. I remember there was a moment where I think I'd replied on a blog post or something like that of Dan's, and to my surprise, he responded to me, and that was weird. I was like, wow, that's uncanny. And next thing I know, there are a bunch of things happening in my life. Around 2016 actually is when this actually started. I started to realize that I liked consulting to a degree, but I was aware that I was kind of at a ceiling, and I wanted to go further and make more impact. And so I started to pursue how that could be done, and started a blog and all this kind of stuff. And then it ended up being a referral of sorts, something that Dan had, I believe, referred me to a person named Michael Hyatt. And from there, connections grew like crazy with the amount of people that I was connected with in some way, shape, or form. And honestly, I think the impact there was not only on my career, my vocation, I guess you could say, but also on me as a person. Starting to realize that there were possibilities. The thing that Dan is always known for saying is asking the question, what does this make possible? Good or bad, whatever happens in your life, what does this make possible? Honestly, I think it's one of those, sorry, this, like I said, a little tough to get through, but I'll power through this. I think ultimately, if not for Dan, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have done. one of which was move here to Franklin, where he was living at the time. And so it wasn't specifically to get closer to Dan, but I knew that there were so many people here that were in that realm of, you know, what I'd call digital entrepreneurship or platform building, authors and coaches and writers. They were all here. And I decided to just come, you know, and be here instead of where I was. A decision I have not regretted in the slightest. And the thing is, there was an event that I went to in 2018. Or, I'm sorry, it was 2017. And I met Dan for the first time. And I was shocked at his generosity with my time and with his time. It wasn't just a passing, hey, how you doing? Good to meet you. Here's an autograph kind of a thing. He started asking me questions about my life and about me. And it was striking to me that, you know, here's this best-selling author that's well-known and has all these intense connections, and he's asking me these questions. That was amazing. Fast forward a little bit. I actually don't remember exactly when it was after that, but it was shortly after that, or maybe a year or two after that, that we started to interact more and more. And so at one point, I remember he was moving from Franklin to Florida, and we went to his house and to not only wish him well, but also he was saying he has some stuff he wants to get rid of. And, you know, we went there to lighten his burden as far as what had to be moved and what had to be just gotten rid of. And it was that he kind of pulled me off to the corner and, you know, spent some time with me and really just kind of encouraged me, but also gave me, I gave him some money for it. I just didn't want to take it for free, but I think about 200 copies of his book. And so I have been giving these out to people. Actually, it's the softcover version, but yes, I've been giving this out to people I coach or people just at random. Actually, when I first did my first book, Be a Citrix Hero, I actually had a bundle package with that, where it was just, you can buy both those books. And I kind of just added the 48 Days book on with it. You just had to pay for extra shipping and it was yours. And I hope that's been impactful for people. And I can tell you more, honestly, but I want to kind of keep this, you know, shorter. The thing about Dan is that he gave me opportunities that I didn't have to connect with not only him, but his audience as well. So in the 48 Days Eagles community, which is a private online service, I was able to run workshops. I was able to run I guess you could say a class called the Thriving Artists. That name is actually stuck. It used to be just artists, and instead of starving artists, I said thriving artists, and that actually did stick. And so that was great to do, but he gave me lots more opportunities and lots more encouragement. There was a book I was working on at one point, and he helped give me some feedback on that, and you know, that has been, it was kind of discouraging at the time, to be honest with you, but at the same time, I realized he was right, and I've been, you know, reformulating that. Here I am talking about books like it's no big deal. It's no big deal to me because of this relationship that I've had with Dan, where it's not unusual for me to have done things like that. The thing is, Dan believed in me more than I think I believed in myself. So it's difficult to not have regrets, to not have him have seen me accomplish the things that we talked about. It's difficult to think about, you know, I won't get to call him, I won't get to text him, I won't have these opportunities. It's difficult to think about, but that's the reality I face right now. That's where we're at. He's gone. But his legacy is lived on in literally tens of thousands of people. Whether you know it or not, I would like to venture that, his impacts have been felt beyond just his books and his talking and his podcast especially. The impacts are huge, which leads me to one conclusion, and that is that Dan Miller is someone who impacted people so that they would impact people. What a wonderful gift and what a wonderful way to be. And that really is convicting to me. That really is what I want to put forward. I want to impact people so that they impact people. So to Joanne and all the family of Dan Miller, obviously my deepest condolences on this, sudden loss. But I know that we all have joy in having Dan in our lives. And yes, he will be missed, sorely missed. There's a gap in my life now. I have to admit that and cope with that. In a way, I think Dan was a father figure to me. Even though we didn't interact on that regular basis, the impact was that much. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Dan. I can't imagine what life would be without you and your impact and your contributions. Thank you for having the courage to fly like the eagles. Love you.